without equality, without freedom, there won't be peace. The more Israeli apartheid and oppression is persistent today, the less likely there will be a healthy and peaceful future tomorrow for both the Israelis and the Palestinians. A while back, I had a very interesting conversation with a close friend of mine who was born and raised in Palestine, suffered through every harsh reality I'd mentioned before, including getting unjustly thrown into prison for over 1.5 years. I'll never forget what he said to me in that conversation. It really touched me from inside, and I want to share that all with you. He said, well, we may not have land, we may not have equal rights, and we may not have a state, but what we do have is our tenacity to resist. And that is the most powerful weapon any human being can possess. For resistance revives our dignity. Resistance to injustice gives us our steadfastness and maintains our struggle. Resistance has kept our struggle alive. Hold on, I want to get this right. And given our people hope, defiance, determination, and strength. But the most important thing resistance has done is reclaimed our humanity. By demanding our basic human rights, asserting our right to exist as a people, by defying the oppressor that slays us from these rights. What does it mean to be a Palestinian? What defines a Palestinian? He said, I believe a Palestinian is not defined by race, or by religion, or by place of origin, but the will to resist in humanity. Being Palestinian is the will to resist injustice, and the will to resist racism. Palestinian means the will to sacrifice for the sake of the other, to give for the sake of a better future for all, and to resist for the sake of a better living for future generations. I've asked this once before, and I'm going to ask you all again. With that said, how many of you all just became a Palestinian? Listen, SDSU in 1948, one of the founders of Israel, Ben-Gurion, wrote in his diary about the Nakba, which in English means the catastrophe. He wrote, "The old will die and the young will forget." This was Israel's wishful mentality at the time of its declared independence. It's been almost 63 years of a Nakba, this catastrophe. And let me ask you, have we forgotten about Palestine yet?
No.
Are we going to?
No.
There are well over 9.7 million Palestinian refugees in the world today, including myself, who are being denied their inalienable right to return. They are denied their basic rights of freedom, equality, and mobility. These things are rights. They're not privileges to be taken away from anyone. All of us here come from different races, nationalities, faiths, backgrounds, walks of life. But we're united under the common principles of freedom, equality, justice, and human rights as Americans. This is why putting on events like Palestine Awareness Week is so important. This is why we're going to continue to be here until they're granted their rights. And the day that they are granted their rights, we're moving on to the next people who don't have their rights.
Woo!
We're here to provide the facts and share another side of the story that you don't hear on Fox News or read about in the New York Times, although I have to say the tide is turning. Recognize that historically speaking, no civil rights campaign or movement was ever considered popular in the context of its own time. This, right here, it's an extremely unpopular, uncool cause. But to me, and to many of you here that I know, it's a good effing sign.
Woo!
Just like every other cause. It starts out extremely unpopular, and then it just gets increasingly logical and really difficult to defend. I mean, I feel sorry for Israelis trying to defend this shit, honestly. I'm going to end with a quote from the Archbishop of South Africa, Desmond Tutu, who said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, then you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Thank you all.